Beloved, there is a difference between a woman who is merely surviving and a woman who is divinely sustained. In the economy of the kingdom, blessing is not first seen in material abundance. It is revealed in alignment, depth, and spiritual stature. When God places his hand upon a woman, her life begins to speak in ways words cannot fully explain. She may not always be loud, but her presence carries weight. She may not always be celebrated by men, but she is recognized in the spirit. Today, we are not examining culture's definition of success. We are discerning heaven's evidence of divine favor. If you have ever wondered whether God's hand truly rests upon your life, Scripture gives us patterns, clear, spiritual indicators that reveal when a woman is genuinely blessed by God. There is a clear distinction between desire and hunger, and in the realm of the spirit, God responds to hunger. A woman blessed by God is not casual about spiritual matters. She is intentional, deliberate, and deeply conscious of her need for God. Her pursuit of God is not driven by crisis alone, not sustained by emotions, and not dependent on external validation. Even when everything appears to be working in her favor, there is still a cry within her spirit that says, "Lord, I need more of you." This hunger is proof that the hand of God is upon her life, because spiritual appetite itself is a gift. No man or woman seeks God by their own strength unless God first draws them. When you find a woman whose heart is consistently inclined toward prayer, the word, worship, and intimacy with God, you are seeing evidence of divine investment. This hunger expresses itself in consistency, not convenience. She does not only seek God when she is broken, she seeks Him because she understands that her survival, direction, and identity are rooted in Him. She values quiet moments with God more than public applause. She understands that beauty fades, seasons change, and people evolve, but the presence of God remains her anchor. Even when life becomes busy, demanding, or overwhelming, she creates room for God because she knows that neglecting her spiritual life will eventually cost her emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. This is not religious activity. This is spiritual intelligence. A woman blessed by God is teachable. Hunger makes her humble enough to learn, to sit under sound teaching, and to allow God correct her assumptions, her mindset, and sometimes her desires. She is not defensive when God confronts her through His word. She understands that correction is not rejection and that discipline is proof of sonship. Her hunger drives her to ask questions, to seek understanding, and to grow in wisdom. She is not content with shallow Christianity or borrowed convictions. She wants to know God for herself, to hear His voice clearly, and to walk in alignment with His will. This hunger also produces discernment. Because she spends time with God, she learns His ways, not just His acts. She begins to recognize what is of God and what is not, even when it looks attractive. She is not easily swayed by trends, pressure, or emotional manipulation. Her decisions are shaped by spiritual sensitivity rather than impulse. This is why her life may sometimes look different from others, not because she is proud, but because hunger has tuned her spirit to divine frequencies. She learns to say no without guilt and yes without fear, because her confidence is rooted in God's approval. Another sign of this hunger is that she values transformation over information. She is not just collecting sermons, scriptures, or spiritual language. She allows the word to change her. Her character is being refined. Her reactions are being corrected, and her heart is being aligned. She is aware that spiritual growth is not measured by how much you know, but by how much you reflect Christ. Her hunger pushes her to forgive when it is hard, to let go when it is painful, and to obey even when it is inconvenient. She understands that intimacy with God often requires sacrifice. This hunger also sustains her in waiting seasons. When prayers seem unanswered and promises appear delayed, she does not walk away from God. Instead, her hunger deepens. She learns to trust God's timing, knowing that delay is not denial and silence is not absence. She discovers that God often uses waiting to build capacity, maturity, and endurance. In those moments, her hunger keeps her grounded, hopeful, and aligned. She may cry, she may question, but she does not disconnect. A woman blessed by God is not driven by desperation but by devotion. Her hunger is not about what God can give her alone, it is about who God is. She desires God even when blessings are not immediately visible. This is why her relationship with God is strong, personal, and resilient. When storms come, she does not collapse because her roots are deep. When opportunities arise, she does not lose herself because her identity is secure. Hunger keeps her balanced. Over time, this hunger begins to influence others. Her life becomes a quiet sermon. People may not understand her discipline, her convictions, or her priorities, but they can sense the depth of her walk with God. Without forcing anything, her hunger draws others toward God. This is one of the clearest signs that a woman is truly blessed by God, because when God invests in a life, that life becomes a channel through which others are impacted. A woman blessed by God carries a kind of peace that cannot be explained by circumstances. It is not the absence of trouble, pressure, or responsibility. It is the presence of God regulating her inner world. This peace does not mean she does not feel pain, disappointment, or uncertainty, but it means those emotions do not control her. While situations around her may be unstable, her spirit remains anchored. This stability is evidence that she has learned how to lean on God, rather than be driven by fear. When storms arise, she may bend, but she does not break, because her foundation is not built on emotions, people, or outcomes. This peace is the result of trust. She understands that God is sovereign, intentional, and faithful, even when life does not make sense. Instead of constantly trying to control everything, she surrenders outcomes to God. This surrender does not make her passive, it makes her discerning. She knows when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to be silent. Because her confidence is rooted in God's character, she is not easily shaken by delays, disappointments, or unexpected changes. Stability comes when the heart is persuaded that God is good, even in silence. A woman blessed by God does not live in emotional extremes. She is not easily thrown into panic by bad news, nor is she careless during good seasons. Her reactions are measured because she has learned emotional mastery through spiritual alignment. She has allowed God to heal her from past wounds, disappointments, and unresolved pain that could have made her reactive or defensive. As a result, she does not bleed on people who did not cut her. Her peace becomes a safe place for others, a calm presence in tense environments, and a source of reassurance in moments of chaos. This stability also shows in her decision-making. She does not rush major choices under pressure, fear, or excitement. She understands the cost of impatience and the danger of anxiety-driven decisions. Because she is at peace, she can hear God clearly. Her spirit is not noisy, confused, or overwhelmed. She waits for clarity, confirmation, and conviction before moving forward. This is why her life experiences fewer regrets, not because she is perfect, but because she is guided. Stability protects her from unnecessary battles and emotional exhaustion. In difficult seasons, her peace becomes even more evident. When things do not go as planned, when relationships are strained, or when doors close unexpectedly, she does not fall apart. She may grieve, but she does not despair. She may feel weak, but she does not lose hope. She understands that seasons change, and she trusts that God is at work, even when she cannot see results immediately. This perspective gives her strength to endure without becoming bitter, hardened, or cynical. A woman blessed by God also knows how to rest. She does not live in constant worry, overthinking, or self-blame. She releases what she cannot control and commits it to God. Her rest is not laziness, it is faith. She understands that worrying does not add value to her life, and that anxiety does not accelerate God's promises. By choosing peace, she protects her mind, her health, and her spiritual sensitivity. This is why she can sleep at night even when questions remain unanswered. This peace influences her relationships. She is not insecure, jealous, or threatened by others. She does not compete unnecessarily or compare herself constantly. Her sense of worth is stable and her identity is secure. Because of this, She relates with people from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. She can love without fear, give without manipulation, and set boundaries without guilt. Stability gives her emotional maturity and relational wisdom. Over time, people begin to notice that her life carries a certain order. Even in pressure, there is calm. Even in uncertainty, there is hope. Even in loss, there is dignity. This is not because she has mastered life, but because she has learned how to anchor herself in God. When a woman consistently walks in peace and stability regardless of circumstances, it is a clear sign that God's hand is upon her life, governing her heart, strengthening her spirit, and sustaining her journey. A woman blessed by God cannot hide the evidence of her life, because blessing eventually expresses itself through fruit. Fruit is the visible outcome of an invisible relationship with God. It shows up in character, in how she treats people, in the quality of her relationships, and in the atmosphere she creates around her. This fruit is not perfection, it is consistency. She may still be growing, learning, and being refined. But there is a clear difference between her and someone who is merely pretending to be spiritual. What God is doing within her begins to manifest outwardly in ways that are undeniable. One of the first fruits seen in her life is character. She values integrity even when compromise would be easier or more profitable. She chooses honesty over convenience and faithfulness over shortcuts. Her words carry weight because they are not careless or manipulative. People can trust her because she is consistent, dependable, and sincere. This kind of character is not produced by effort alone. It is the result of submission to God's work within her heart. She understands that gifts can open doors, but character sustains them. Her relationships also reflect this fruit. A woman blessed by God does not leave a trail of broken, damaged, or toxic relationships behind her. She may have experienced disappointments, misunderstandings, or even betrayals, but she does not respond with bitterness or revenge. Instead, she learns, heals, and grows. She knows how to communicate, how to listen, and how to extend grace without becoming foolish. Her relationships are not perfect, but they are healthy, respectful, and life-giving. People feel safe around her because she does not thrive on drama, control, or emotional manipulation. Another expression of fruit is emotional maturity. She does not react impulsively or allow her emotions to dictate her behavior. She understands her feelings, but does not become a slave to them. When offended, she processes before responding. When misunderstood, she seeks clarity rather than conflict. This emotional stability allows her to navigate complex relationships with wisdom. She does not escalate issues unnecessarily, nor does she suppress her voice out of fear. Balance becomes her strength. A woman blessed by God also carries the fruit of kindness and compassion. She is aware of people's struggles, even when they are hidden. Her empathy is not shallow or performative. It flows from a heart that has been touched by God's mercy. She does not use people for personal gain or status. She serves, supports, and encourages without expecting applause. Her kindness is consistent, not selective. She understands that everyone is fighting a battle that may not be visible, and she chooses to be a source of light rather than judgment. This fruit extends into how she handles responsibility and influence. Whether in her home, workplace, ministry, or community, she brings order rather than confusion. She is reliable, diligent, and committed. She does not abandon responsibilities when things become difficult. People can depend on her because she values excellence and stewardship. She understands that faithfulness in small things attracts greater trust and opportunity. This is why her life tends to grow steadily rather than collapse suddenly. Another clear fruit in her life is self-control. She is not driven by impulses, addictions, or unchecked desires. She understands the power of discipline and boundaries. This does not mean she is rigid or joyless. It means she is intentional. She guards her time, her energy, and her heart. She knows when to engage and when to withdraw. Self-control protects her from unnecessary regrets and preserves her dignity. It also reflects spiritual maturity. because the ability to say no to oneself is evidence of inner strength. Over time, these fruits create a distinct atmosphere around her life. Her presence brings peace rather than tension, clarity rather than confusion, and encouragement rather than discouragement. People may not always agree with her, but they respect her. They may not fully understand her convictions, but they can see the results. Her life becomes a living testimony that a relationship with God produces real, tangible change. When the fruit of character and healthy relationships consistently follows a woman, it is a clear sign that she is truly blessed by God, because only God can produce fruit that lasts. A woman blessed by God is guided by wisdom that goes beyond intelligence, experience, or common sense. This wisdom is rooted in divine instruction, shaped by discernment, and refined through obedience. She understands that knowledge alone is not enough to navigate life successfully. She needs insight that comes from God. As a result, her life is not governed by impulse, pressure, or emotions, but by an inner compass aligned with God's will. This guidance may not always make sense to others, but it consistently leads her toward peace, growth, and preservation. Discernment allows her to see beneath the surface. She is not easily deceived by appearances, words, or promises. She understands that not everything that looks good is good, and not every open door is a God door. Because she spends time in God's presence, her spirit becomes sensitive to warnings, promptings, and confirmations. She learns to recognize when something is being forced versus when it is being orchestrated by God. This sensitivity protects her from relationships, opportunities, and decisions that could have cost her her peace or destiny. A woman blessed by God values divine instruction above personal preference. She is willing to adjust her plans when God redirects her. Even when something feels right emotionally, she is cautious enough to seek God's counsel. She understands that emotions can be sincere yet misleading. By submitting her desires to God, she avoids many traps that others fall into through impatience or self-will. Her obedience is not blind, it is trust-based. She obeys because she believes that God sees what she cannot see. Wisdom also shapes how she speaks. She understands the power of words and the consequences they carry. She does not speak carelessly, gossip recklessly, or react verbally in moments of anger. Her words are seasoned with grace, truth, and timing. She knows when silence is wisdom and when speaking up is necessary. Because of this, her voice carries authority rather than noise. People listen to her because she does not talk to be heard. She speaks to bring clarity, healing, or direction. In decision-making, she demonstrates patience. She does not rush major life choices such as relationships, career moves, or commitments without clarity. She waits for peace, alignment, and confirmation. This patience is not fear, it is wisdom at work. She understands that haste can create wounds that take years to heal. By allowing God to lead, she experiences fewer unnecessary detours and regrets. Even when she makes mistakes, her humility allows God to correct her quickly and realign her path. A woman guided by divine wisdom also knows how to prioritize. She understands what deserves her energy and what does not. She does not invest deeply in relationships that drain her spirit or environments that compromise her values. This does not make her cold or proud. It makes her discerning. She understands that access to her life is a privilege, not a right. By setting healthy boundaries, she protects her calling, her peace, and her emotional well-being. This wisdom influences how she handles success and failure. In success, she remains grounded and grateful, knowing that every good thing comes from God. She does not become arrogant or self-sufficient. In failure or disappointment, she does not collapse or lose hope. She reflects, learns, and grows. Wisdom gives her perspective, helping her see seasons as lessons rather than definitions. She understands that God uses both victories and challenges to shape her character. Over time, her life reflects a pattern of divine leading. Even when she cannot explain why certain things did not work out or why certain delays occurred, she can see God's protection in hindsight. What once felt like loss is revealed as preservation. What once felt like denial is understood as direction. This is the advantage of being guided by wisdom and discernment from God. When a woman consistently makes choices that preserve her peace, protect her future, and align her with God's purpose, it is a strong sign that she is truly blessed by God. Walking under divine instruction and spiritual insight, a woman blessed by God attracts favor in ways that cannot be manufactured, negotiated, or manipulated. This favor is not the result of striving, desperation, or compromise. It flows naturally from alignment with God. She understands that when God is involved, He can cause people to help her, doors to open for her, and opportunities to find her without her having to lose her dignity or betray her values. Favor becomes an expression of divine involvement, not human effort. She does not live with a mindset of scarcity or competition. Because she trusts God as her source, she is free from the pressure to manipulate situations or people for advantage. She does not force relationships, beg for attention, or lower her standards to be accepted. Her confidence is quiet, rooted in the knowledge that what is meant for her will come to her through the right channels at the right time. This posture of trust attracts respect and goodwill from others. A woman who walks in divine favor understands timing. She does not rush ahead of God, nor does she lag behind in fear. She discerns seasons and responds accordingly. Because of this, she often arrives at the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, and receiving opportunities that seem effortless to outsiders. What others may call luck is actually the hand of God orchestrating events in her favor. This alignment spares her from unnecessary struggles and emotional exhaustion. Favor also shows in how people respond to her. She may not always be the most qualified or visible, but her presence is welcomed. People are willing to listen to her, assist her, and advocate for her. This does not mean everyone will like her, but it means God positions the right hearts to support her journey. Even in unfamiliar environments, she finds help, guidance, and acceptance. This is not because she is manipulative or overly pleasing, but because God touches hearts on her behalf. She maintains integrity even when compromise seems like the fastest road to success. She understands that anything obtained through compromise will eventually demand a higher price. Instead of cutting corners or adjusting her values, she trusts God to honor her obedience. This integrity becomes a magnet for lasting favor. People may test her boundaries, but they also respect her consistency. Over time, her reputation speaks for her, opening doors that skill alone could not open. A woman blessed by God also knows how to steward favor. She does not become entitled, proud, or careless when good things come her way. She remains humble, grateful, and responsible. She understands that favor is a trust, not a trophy. Because of this, she uses opportunities wisely and honors those who help her. This attitude causes favor to increase rather than diminish. God continues to place her in positions of influence because she handles them with wisdom and humility. Favor does not exempt her from challenges, but it gives her advantage in the midst of them. When obstacles arise, help appears. When resources are needed, provision is released. When she lacks clarity, guidance comes. This does not always happen instantly, but it happens consistently enough to remind her that she is not alone. She learns to expect God's involvement without becoming presumptuous. Another dimension of favor is protection. Doors that could have harmed her remain closed, even when she desired them. Opportunities that were not aligned quietly fade away. At the time, she may not understand why things did not work out, but with time she sees the mercy of God in those closed doors. Favor does not only give access, it also withholds danger. This protection preserves her peace, her future, and her purpose. As her life unfolds, favor begins to speak for her louder than self-promotion ever could. People recommend her, remember her, and return to her. Opportunities find her without her constantly chasing them. This is the beauty of divine favor operating without compromise. When a woman walks in alignment with God and refuses to manipulate outcomes, her life becomes evidence that God can lift, preserve, and advance his own without violating their values or integrity. A woman blessed by God carries an atmosphere that affects spaces before she even speaks. Her presence is not loud, forced, or attention-seeking, yet it brings a sense of calm, order, and reassurance wherever she goes. This is because what she carries within her overflows outwardly. She has allowed God to heal her, shape her, and align her. And as a result, her life becomes a vessel through which peace and restoration flow. People may not always understand why they feel better around her, but they recognize that something about her presence is different. This ability to add value is rooted in self-awareness and purpose. She understands who she is and what she carries, so she does not compete unnecessarily or seek validation from others. She is comfortable being herself and secure in her identity. Because she is not driven by insecurity, she can celebrate others without jealousy and support without hidden motives. Her confidence does not intimidate, it empowers. She brings encouragement into conversations, clarity into confusion, and strength into weakness simply by being present. A woman blessed by God also brings healing through her words and actions. She listens without judgment and speaks with wisdom and compassion. She understands that many people are carrying silent burdens, and she does not add to their pain. Her words are thoughtful, timely, and restorative. Even when correction is necessary, it is delivered with love rather than pride. She knows how to address issues without crushing people. This ability to heal rather than harm is a sign of maturity and divine influence. Wherever she goes, order follows her. This does not mean she controls everything, but it means she brings structure, responsibility, and excellence into environments that may have been chaotic or neglected. In her home, workplace, ministry, or relationships, she adds value by being dependable and intentional. She does not create confusion or unnecessary drama. Instead, she helps systems function better and people work together more effectively. Her presence improves environments rather than draining them. She understands the power of service. A woman blessed by God does not see serving as weakness or insignificance. She understands that greatness in the kingdom is revealed through service. She looks for ways to contribute rather than dominate. Whether her role is visible or hidden, she performs it with excellence and sincerity. This servant-hearted posture makes her indispensable. People trust her because she is not self-centered or exploitative. Another way she adds value is through emotional intelligence. She knows how to read the room, discern moods, and respond appropriately. She does not impose herself where she is not needed, nor does she withdraw when her presence is required. This balance allows her to support others effectively. She understands when to speak, when to remain silent, and when to simply be present. This sensitivity brings comfort and stability to those around her. Her life also becomes a source of inspiration. Without trying to impress anyone, her consistency, discipline, and faith encourage others to grow. People see how she handles challenges, treats others, and remains grounded, and they are motivated to reflect on their own lives. Her influence is quiet but deep. She does not preach at people, she lives in a way that makes God attractive. Even in difficult or broken environments, she does not conform to dysfunction. She becomes a stabilizing force. Where there is bitterness, she brings grace. Where there is confusion, she brings clarity. Where there is discouragement, she brings hope. This does not mean she fixes everything, but it means she contributes positively rather than amplifying negativity. Her presence shifts atmospheres because it is backed by a life aligned with God. Over time, people begin to associate her with peace, wisdom, and reliability. They seek her counsel, value her presence, and trust her influence. This is not because she demands it, but because her life consistently adds value. When a woman's presence brings healing, order, and positive impact wherever she goes, it is a powerful sign that she is truly blessed by God, carrying His nature and reflecting His light through her everyday life.